When I think of the pelvis, I think of it as the epicenter of the body, and that there are three things that can really affect it. Number one is pressure, number two is movements and compensation, and number three is stress and emotions. So let's begin with pressure or inter-abdominal pressure. This picture represents what it looks like in your body. I start with it first here because it is in this course, the Pelvic Health Fundamentals course, so important to understand this pressure. And so it will be repeated throughout the course, but I wanted to start here to introduce it. So if you look at the first picture, the inhale, you'll see that both the diaphragms, the respiratory diaphragm, which is on top, and the pelvic diaphragm, which is on the bottom, match each other. And so when we inhale, that respiratory diaphragm dips, the belly goes out so that it makes room for that air that's coming in, and then the pelvic floor diaphragm also dips. And then when we exhale, you have the opposite as seen in this picture, where the pelvic floor diaphragm is rising, the belly is flattening, and the respiratory diaphragm is also rising so that the air can come out, and it's an exhale. Now, what we see is a lot of correlation between pelvic floor dysfunction and women who are not kind of using this inter-abdominal pressure to their benefit. What does this look like? It means that most likely, if you are exerting energy, you hold your breath or you inhale when you are exerting energy. Again, we'll go over this concept later on. It is not something that is going to go away, but is something that affects the pelvic health fundamentals. And so I wanted to bring it up here. The second two, which is movement and compensation, and also emotions and stress, are factors that affect your pelvis, but I don't really think they're too much part of this particular course. But I do want to bring them up. Number two, which is this movement and compensation, is that the pelvis, because it's such the epicenter of the body, if you need any compensation to happen with those muscles to move, your pelvis is probably involved and is something that should be looked at. Kind of the same thing with this third concept with his emotions and stress. We don't talk about it in this class. I'll have other classes to go over it. But our stress and our emotions, our repressed emotions, can be held in the hips and pelvis. It's a pretty well known thing that this is where emotions can be held. And so, again, I want to bring it up to just to introduce the idea and to not be surprised if you're doing this work within our course and emotions come up. Very common, very part of the process. And in future classes, I'll concentrate on it more. But for now, I just wanted to bring it up so that you understand these three things, but in particular, the inter-abdominal pressure is something that does affect the pelvis.